I know you cannot tell, but I am pretty tall for a female. I am 5'11", so I have always been really tall. I have always had really big feet. I've always had big hands, and I have always felt just like I take up a lot of space. I actually started to blend in a little bit in college, but still, I felt like I was just very tall and I was always taller and just like bigger and felt like I took up more space than literally all of my female friends, all of my girlfriends. If you can think back to being in middle school and high school and you want to just like fit in with everybody, but like physically you feel like you don't. It is something that I just like always didn't feel good about. I remember because my feet were so big, just for my age, like they didn't really make cute shoes for girls my age. Like they literally, I remember going into Kohl's with my mom. That tells you how long ago it was. But I remember going into Kohl's with my mom because I needed some like nicer shoes. And they didn't have any that a normal, like, high schooler would have. They had these really ugly, just like old woman looking shoes. And that is what they had in my size, or multiple. Nowadays, it's changed a lot because thankfully they're starting to make larger shoe sizes. Especially Nordstrom Rack, thank you so much. But now it's a little bit more commonplace to see, 10, 11, 12 footwear for women. But back then, like, what was that? At least like around 10, 15 years ago, that was not the case, right? And so yeah, so I remember like a lot of stores didn't even have my size, or there were like two places, Kohl's and another place, can't remember, that had larger shoe sizes, but all of them were so ugly. And I remember having to buy these pair of shoes that were just like not cute at all. And it just like made me feel that like something was wrong with me, in the sense of like, why do I have to like shop at this store in this section for these shoes, or like why do these clothes never fit me, or like why don't I feel petite and girly and cute, why am I so much taller than all of the girls, why am I so much taller than all of the boys, like people aren't gonna, like, guys, like, as a girl you don't want to feel bigger than a guy, right? Like it's just awkward. Like if you're a head taller and you're like hugging your girlfriends or like hugging your guy friends, and you're the one that you're always like hugging people and they're so much shorter than you. And again, like, these are just things that I remember and I can kind of laugh about them now, but they do make a big difference when you feel like maybe you are just not like everybody else and you just feel kind of like the odd person out. And it was very difficult for me to be confident in myself when I felt like I always stuck out. These things never fit me. Clothing, I hated shopping, and I still do. And I feel like that's a little bit because of like the trauma behind not ever being able to find things that fit me. And when they did, they just like did not like them. You don't want to feel like that. And it's funny too because my husband is very tall and I love it because he is like one of the only people that makes me feel small. The reason that I'm even saying all of this is because I feel like we all have those things that we are self-conscious about. And maybe even when you were a kid, you felt that way about certain things. And it really does kind of like shape the way that you see yourself. It shapes the way that you think about yourself. And therefore, it shapes your actions and your decisions because you see the world in a different way based off of how you view yourself. And so I wanted to kind of like talk about that a little bit because I don't ever just like want to come on YouTube and make it seem like my life is perfect, or that like I know what I'm talking about all of the time, or that I don't have insecurities, or that I haven't gone through trials, or that I'm not self-conscious about certain things, because that is ultimately the whole reason that like I see my need for Jesus, and also the comfort that I find in being able to talk about these things, because I don't have it all figured out. I just love God so much, and he has given me this whole new outlook on life and just the way that I see things, and like the relationship I have with him is just so deep, and I'm very grateful for what he has done in my life, that that's the whole reason that I started a YouTube channel. Like, other than that, I'm just the most normal person. I obviously, like, right now I am in my husband's sweatshirt, which actually this is super cute. You can't tell me it's not, because we made this sweatshirt. We're working on some things with designing some clothes and things like that. But besides the point, this is kind of like what I'm like on an everyday. Today's hair washing day. Like, this hair is a rat's nest. Let's be honest. I got this massive bun. I don't even know what it looks like. It's tragic. And I am in a sweatshirt, and this is what I look like 90% of the time. I don't look cute. And I really just think that that's another thing. You just come as you are. We all have issues. We all have made mistakes. We've all have failures. I'm just a regular person just talking about God because I love him so much. So, anyways, the reason that I'm getting at this is because you also are created in God's image, just like I am. And it took me a lot of time to really dive into the fact that, like, God made me this way. He made me tall. He made me just a larger female for a reason. And he knew me specifically, before he even created the world. And he knew that you would be who you are, how you are, what you look like, before the creation of the world, too. And I think a lot of times we get caught up in how we don't look like other people, or how other people look better than us, or we're self-conscious about something, or we have this and this wrong with us, or we just get caught up in like these earthly things about how other people look at us, or how we don't fit in with other people, or things we don't like about ourselves. When in reality, like, you are made exactly the way that you're supposed to be. And God knew that even before he created the world. Like, even before he created the world thousands of years ago, he created you and he knew you. And we like need to be walking in that more, because that is where our power is. Satan wants so badly for us to nitpick the things about ourselves and become more inwardly focused, because then he can distract us by being inwardly thinking about ourselves and not being able to use our gifts and, really display Christ on an outward level to other people, if we are so like internalizing all of these things that we don't like about ourselves, or being overly self-conscious, or not, just using your personality and your gifts to make the world a better place. So, a couple of verses that I have just to kind of keep top of mind if you're struggling with body image, or struggling with just who you are and kind of like where you fit in. First, like, you are made in the image of God, and because of that, he knows you perfectly. So, with the couple of verses that I have, is Ephesians 1:4. It says, "For he chose us in him before the creation of the world to be holy and blameless in his sight." And I love this because it just allows us to, number one, have this connection with the Lord, that like God knew each person way before the earth was even created. He knew your story. He knew when you were going to be born. He knows what you're going to do. And he chose you to do all of those things in your timeline, and to be rooted in him in order to carry out those works, because he created you in his image. Like, that is fascinating to me. I have certain gifts, but also don't have other gifts that maybe you have, that you're going to reach other people in the person that you are, and the way that you look, the way that you act, the things that you like, the gifts that you have are for a purpose to help other people and to show God's glory. And like, he made me one of one, and he made you one of one, and you have a purpose because you are specifically made that way even before God created the world. What? It's mind blowing. Like, please walk in this encouragement and like be confident in yourself. Like, you are made in his image and you have these gifts and you are unique for a reason and a purpose. It says in Psalm 139, 13 through 14, "For you formed my inward parts, you knitted me together in my mother's womb. I praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Wonderful are your works, my soul knows it very well." Another verse that kind of brings along this point is when God is talking to Jeremiah, and he's in the Old Testament, he's a prophet. It's Jeremiah 1:5. It says, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I sanctified you, and I ordained you a prophet to the nations." So this is really cool because God is speaking directly to Jeremiah. Out of all of the people in the earth, on the earth at that time alive, he is specifically talking to Jeremiah saying, "Hey, I knew you. Like, I knew you. I know who you are. Even before you were born, when you were in your mother's womb, I knew you. I knew what your purpose was. I knew that I was going to ordain you as a prophet and that you were going to do these great things." And like, if he is speaking to Jeremiah about this, then he is really, that's an example that he's speaking to all of us about that, and that we can be exactly who we are meant to be because God knows each one of us so individually on such a deep level because he created us. All of these things are pointing back to Jesus, and Jesus is the gift and the reason that we are able to see God's wonderful works, that we are able to be sanctified in him, and that we are able to walk holy and blameless. That is not on our own. I am not holy and blameless. Goodness gracious, not without God, right? Like, there is nothing good in me, honestly, without the gift of Jesus. That's kind of what God put on my heart today. It was a little jumbled up there, I know, but I think it's just more so serving as an encouragement that if you are feeling like you're not sure what your purpose is, or if you are feeling like you are just the oddball or the black sheep, or that you don't really fit in, like, there is a reason that you are made the way that you are, and you fit in perfectly where God has put you. But I would say walk into that and step into that, pray about it, ask the Lord to show you what your gifts are, who he has made you to be. And then also recognizing and being grateful and thankful that, all of the bad parts of us have been washed new because of Jesus, and that we can walk in that confidence as well. So, if you've stayed this far, I appreciate you so much. If you want to continue journeying in our faith together, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. I love having comments that we can talk back and forth. And to next time.